Hey, hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to host a high converting virtual summit that leads to your biggest signature offer launch yet. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and today I have a very special guest to talk about. We're going to talk about all kinds of things like feel good networking, creating community and connection and events, and how she saw great results with offering her membership in the event, a really specific thing she did to make it such an easy yes and a seamless flow for her members to go from summit to membership. But to give you some background on our guest first, Sara Alepin is the founder of District Bliss, a networking community that's turning the tired old networking scene on its head. And after years of experiencing the shallow handshakes in traditional networking spaces, Sara created a place where introverted and extroverted entrepreneurs build genuine long-term connections instead of just collecting business cards. She is also the host of the Collaborations That Monetize Summit and just an all-around amazing person. We also just remembered, or I just remembered, she apparently already knew, that she's been on the podcast before, and it was such a good one. I remember it now. She talked to us about maximizing your ROI by being an active and involved summit speaker when you're speaking on someone else's summit. So that's episode 291 if you want to check it out. It's a really good one. But without further ado and rambling, we are going to dive into this episode and talk about all the goodness we have for today. So let's dive in and talk with Sara from District Bliss. Welcome back, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me, Krista. I just love hanging out with you.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Meant to be. I was like, we got on this episode and I was like, Sara, how has it been? 320 episodes and I haven't had you here yet. She's like, I've been here before. So even better. We get to go deeper and talk about a different angle. It's going to be so good. And something I just got to say, and something I love about your tagline when you're introducing yourself and what you do is you mentioned how we're all sick of stodgy networking. And I want to just dive into that a little bit more quickly. Can you talk to me about what does that look like versus what you've created so that if people are hearing the term networking and they're already like, ugh, what's the difference here?
Oh, that's such a good question because I think we can all relate to that hard selling, vanishing business cards where you're just having people shove business cards at you and everyone just wants to tell you their elevator pitch and then they don't care whether or not you would ever hire them. They just want to sell to you. And so then it feels like being the only viable candidate in the room for everyone. And so everyone's just kind of waiting their turn to speak at you and not with you. And it feels really exhausting for everyone involved.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard you explain it that way before and I really love it. Yes, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I've seen over and over how you create the opposite of that. And you have just this incredible ability to show up in an authentic and meaningful way and then create those spaces as well. So maybe this is a hard question to ask, but what makes you so good at that? Or what notes should other people take or what should they do better, basically, to create these warm feeling, welcoming, actually valuable spaces?
It's funny because for a long time, I struggled with showing up authentically myself especially for virtual networking. I would hear myself doing that fake laugh
Hmm.
all the time, which is for me, that's a symptom of, I'm uncomfortable and I'm self-soothing by doing that fake laugh. So I had to really get clear on what I wanted from networking. And I looked at it like making a friend. So it was sort of like having a dinner party where all of your friends are coming, but none of them know each other. And you want them to know each other and like each other because you want this to be your new friend group.
Yes.
So you're inviting people to have conversations, not necessarily throw their information at each other. And you're giving them more specific things to talk about that are going to be really create conversation around supporting one another and relating to one another. So the questions that I give everyone in the small breakout rooms, they're designed to ask for support without asking for support, offer support without having to say, "Oh, I know how to solve your problem" in a aggressive weird way, unsolicited advice way. So no one feels like that. And you get something answered in that moment too when you're sharing. And then you also are cultivating a conversation around positive positive interactions that's relatable because we talk about what we're struggling with and or what we're really working on, that hump we can't get over in our business. And that allows us to, one, support each other, two, understand the other person's goals and the way that they work, and three, like, you understand you're not alone in that moment. So it's not me against this person that I'm networking with. It's let's work on this together. Let's have a conversation that's collaborative and see if we can, I'd love to hear your expertise about this. And that's why it feels so good. And that's the big difference because you're having a conversation, you're treating everyone like they're friends, and you're welcoming into the space instead of going in like a bulldozer. When I went to networking events that were stodgy, there was like old boys club networking events, I would just leave and I would throw all the business cards in the recycling bin because I would be so overwhelmed when I got home. I didn't want to talk to anyone, even if I liked them.
Mhm.
So the goal is to never feel like that when you leave a networking.
I love that reframe so much. Like, I'm just thinking of the different vibe it is going into a place, being like, you're networking to get business. Boom, like cutthroat, everyone. That's not my vibe. I would leave. I would straight up leave.
Yeah,
That's
you
not
would.
fun. Versus if it's an event where it's like, come make friends. And then within that, like you said, it's so natural to be like, oh, I can help with that. Or like hear what someone says and be like, oh my gosh, can you help me with this? And now you're buds helping each other out and having these great connections in the process, whether it's you working with them working with you, you referring them to someone else. It's so much more natural. And like Sara is so great at creating this type of feel in all kinds. I mean, she does it in all kinds of different ways and in different groups and different communities, whatever. But I have brought Sara into our summits time and time again to host these, we call them networking socials in our summit to get our attendees building relationships, connecting, networking, things like that. And they always come, I mean, not all of them, most of them come in terrified. What is this going to be? You said this was going to be fun and not stodgy and whatever, but you can tell they're not quite sure. By the end of the session, oh my gosh, the smiles they have on their faces when they come out of those breakout rooms. It makes me tear up just thinking about it. They have so much fun. And you can build this right into your summits and think about what that does for the excitement and momentum in your event, the community, how much they love you for helping them meet these new awesome friends. It's just so great.
And I would imagine as the summit host, you see higher ROI because people feel that community and they don't want to let go of it. I mean, at the end of a summit, like we all kind of grieve the end of the summit. We're all disappointed. We miss that community. This takes it even further. So I would imagine as the summit host, you see higher ROI on your conversion rates too.
Absolutely. And like you can look at who buys the all access pass, who buys the offer and be like, oh yeah, they were there. And that goes both ways, right? Like the most engaged people are going to do all the things.
True.
But like I have to imagine there is more benefit than just like that correlation. So yeah, like network, like really feel good networking socials where making sales isn't the goal, building relationships and supporting each other is the goal. Those feel so great. I know you also incorporate other kinds of live events in your summits. And I also know the sound of that stresses some people out. I mean, honestly, networking socials still stress me out, even though I know how amazing they are. That's why I bring Sara in to do it for me. But like, why are those opportunities for the live interaction and all those things? Why is that so important to you? And what kind of impact have you seen it have in your summits?
That's a really good question because this is the big difference for me in my conversion rates every single time.
Ooh.
And it's in terms of retention as well, because District Bliss is a membership into a community that involves live events. So, what we do for our summits is we host those live events that we host inside our membership within the summit. So, for example, for collaborations that monetize, we're doing it slightly differently, but very similarly this upcoming time. And I can talk about either. But what we did the last time was we hosted, of course, the kickoff call, which would be in our world in District Blitz would be the jumpstart call. Whenever someone comes into our membership, we we do a jumpstart for like the group. Whoever wants to come can. And we talk about which membership benefits they should focus on first, because if you do, some things are not going to be the right fit for you in that moment. And you don't want to waste your time on the stuff that's not the right fit, because then it's a distraction and we only have so much bandwidth. So we go through that. So the welcome call is a little bit like a jumpstart call. And then from there, it's a live training. We host workshops that are really education forward in District Bliss. So that fills that spot. From there, we go into, I think we did panels, which are similar to what we have as a roundtable, which is kind of a mastermind that is moderated by me, but not led by me. It's collaborative. So everyone brings their own expertise. Like, I'm not going to go in and speak to virtual summits. I'm going to defer that question to Krista and be like, oh, hey, Krista, like, you probably have the real answer for this. And you probably can pull up in your Airtable of all of your podcast episodes 7 different links that you're going to drop in the chat that would help this person solve their problem. Not that I've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
Which is so fun because it's a great way to get support and also showcase your expertise, which is good for referrals and client acquisition. But I digress. Then from there, we do a networking social, which of course we've talked about. The next day, we do co-working. We do Ask Sarah Anything, which is my office hours. And we do, so all of these events are what we have inside the District Bliss membership. So everyone who attends gets to experience what it feels like to be a District Bliss member before they even know that District Bliss membership necessarily exists.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And we've talked about your results before doing this, like incorporating all these things in and offering your membership, to summit attendees. And you've seen conversion rates higher than most people do when it comes to getting those attendees to convert into your membership. And I know, like you said, a big part of that is because people get to experience the membership and fall in love with it throughout the summit. And I would have to imagine, since these things you're offering are things you offer every single month in that membership, you're like, yeah, this feels like no big deal. It feels aligned to them and it feels easy to you. And it just makes it all feel so natural and flow
Yeah.
so smoothly.
And it brings in the right people who are primed and want that. And it trains them to show up to the live events. So they
Yeah.
see that transformation. They know which events are the right fit for them before they even become a District Bliss member, which is, there's huge value in that. And our retention rates for membership year over year, our members average a minimum of 5 years in District Bliss.
Wow.
Yeah, because once you come, you don't really want to
You're
leave.
part of the crew. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah. So, I mean, if you think about if my conversion rate is like 25%, which I think it was the first summit I hosted was 25%. I forget what it was last one. I think it was 50% of people that showed up live at the last one, but I can't remember
That is
overall.
wild.
Yeah. Because, it is exactly you're experiencing how often do you get to experience a membership in short order before you join it
Mm-hmm.
without doing a trial? Because a trial, I don't show up for that stuff. Want to. I have the best of intentions. But then I'm like, if I don't build the muscle, then I forget about it
Mm-hmm.
and cancel. But there's no risk and it's short. So you know what you want, you know what you need, and you know what you're going to get. And it makes it a really easy yes.
Something I really love about this is that the way you position your membership in your summit is perfect for attracting the right people for your membership. So someone could be thinking like, well, if someone doesn't show up live, then they're not going to join your membership. It's like, that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
If someone is not the kind of person to show up to things live, they're not the right person for the membership anyways. So the way you have this position, I'm sure they see mentions of it in emails and things like that. Like there are the opportunities, but where you're really going big and speaking to these people and attracting them and giving the opportunity to really experience it, it's for those perfect fit people.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone listening, that's a good thing for you to consider. Like, how could you translate that to yours? Even if your membership isn't based on live calls and community, I bet there's still something else you could build in. If you give people, we do copy reviews and critiques of people's summit registration pages and sales pages and things like that. There's ways we can build that into our events. we do live coaching calls each week in our group program. And one of the big pieces of that is Ellie helping people do the positioning for their summit. So you can bet we have positioning hot seats in our summits. I do a live unlimited Ask Me Anything Q&A in our summits. So people are getting these pieces of feedback. And again, even if you don't do anything live necessarily, I bet there are still things you can incorporate into your event. And man, what a great idea for people who are like, I want more of that. How do I get that? You're like, oh, I'm so glad you asked. Here you go.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier to do the pitch because everyone's just waiting for it. They're like,
Mhm.
okay, so what am I going to get? What are these bonuses going to be? What's the special price going to be? What is this like magical thing that I'm going to get to like find out about? Not that someone's going to sell at me and make me sit through. The other thing is, Krista, when you were just saying this, I was realizing one of the magical things that I do is that every time we host those events, I say, we host these events inside District Bliss membership. So keep calling it out no matter what it is. If it's resources that you provide, whether it's live events or not, call it out and say, this is part of what you get when you work with me in whatever that
Mhm.
looks like.
Absolutely. And like you can say that in such a natural, feel good way where you're building so much awareness and desire of your offer without ever even pitching it.
Yep.
And like I have no problem with pitching. I do a hard pitch at the end of my events, but they also know it's coming. They know, okay, in this session that I'm about to go to, she's going to talk about all this stuff. I'm going to get a ton of value. Then she's really going to sell this offer. And then we're going to do a really long, awesome Q&A at the end. Like I'm not afraid to sell, but I'm not going to do it in a pitch type way all throughout the summit. But they come to that last event already sold because of exactly what you're talking about, is getting to experience it, hearing little bits and pieces that just kind of make them curious, right? When they want to learn more, that's great for you in your marketing. And like, I feel like even saying some of this can come across as like, it all has this like hidden intention. But when your intention is to serve these people well, that's what matters. If your intention is just to make a buck, sure, then that's when it turns slimy. But when you want them in this offer, yeah, because it makes your business money, it needs to, but because, oh my gosh, these attendees need this offer so they can XYZ, that's where it can all come together and just feel so natural and aligned and not slimy. It's like a true opportunity for them. And that just also aligns with everything you've talked about with making an event where people feel like a part of that community and how you can kind of build that in and craft it yourself.
I could not agree with you more. And I think, yeah, it is absolutely like if you heard my conversion rates for my second one, I don't have memorized. I only have memorized who I converted out of the live events because those were the right fit clients.
Hmm.
And because they knew to show up and they were dedicated to showing up. And that is exactly correct. It is not some sort of like sneaky, slimy, something I'm doing to people, selling to them. I'm sharing an opportunity with them, which is exactly what you do in your summits, which is why you are so brilliant at hosting summits. One of the many reasons.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I feel like we've done a really great job of selling this idea. So good job, us. But I also know that there's some people like, okay, love this, but now what? So for someone who doesn't know where to start with building this kind of thing into their event, maybe even they're like, oh my gosh, hosting anything live kind of stresses me out. Where would you say would be a good first place to start? And maybe they can build on it each time.
So, what I did my first time, and what I've encouraged other people to consider when they come to me and tell me the same thing, is do your teaching session live. And then that can just be your only live event. But at least that day you're awarding prizes, you're starting off with prizes. We do attendance-based prizes to get, of course we want people to show up. Also, we want to reward people for showing up. So we do a lot of attendance-based things. So we award that at the end of the call, right before Q&A. But we also, pepper them throughout sometimes. So however it can feel good to you that you're gifting something and delivering something. And content is another great way to gift and deliver. So you might be more comfortable, hiding behind, but truly hiding behind slides in the beginning. And that's okay. You should do what's comfortable for you because that's going to be the most authentic thing.
Mhm.
And people want to get to know you. That's another piece here. Don't forget that people want to get to know the host. That's part of the magic of the summit, and that's part of the way people buy from you afterward. So that's where I would start. I would start with like like teaching your live piece every morning. Make it easy. And then if you want to host a co-working, that's also really low stakes. And you can deliver, let's say you have, if you are resource based, if what you're selling is like resource based, meaning it's asynchronistic. So let's say you have maybe a course, maybe you have like an ongoing course that's like 16 weeks or something, and that's what you're launching into. Maybe you're giving some sort of worksheet associated with that. And then you can say at the top of co-working, I'm giving you this worksheet. This is typically something we would include inside the course. It's related to the summit. So I would love to have you all get this and, start using it, and then put the info up for the course on there. And, you're going to copyright it, like link out to it in that copyright so that when people go back to it later, they remember where they got it, and it's really easy for them to take the next step without it feeling like, of course, you're selling to them. You just want to make it easy for them to make the decision if it's the right fit for them.
I love that so much. Yeah, I think starting with your presentation is just a perfect thing to do live. I know with my first couple summits, the only thing I did live was a kickoff call. And then I think co-working was the next thing I added because I could just come in and kick it off and we just awkwardly work silently. It wasn't awkward. It was fun, but it felt awkward that first time. Then I added in networking that I hosted myself. And, now I do at least 2 live sessions per day, every day, because I just love the engagement and community and feedback and building relationships and helping people more directly. But it's something you can build up to, exactly like you said. And also for someone, if you're someone who you haven't done anything live, even doing your own presentation sounds terrifying. I do hide behind slides, and I have a script. For any presentation I do, you can bet I'm reading from a script. And I'm pretty good these days at not letting people know I'm reading from a script, but I am not someone who can have bullet points on a slide and make any sense. I will just fumble through it, not know the awesome points. I'm not an external processor, right? I need to be able to sit at my desk and tell myself quietly what I'm going to say. So I am always, in almost all occasions, reading from a script. You can probably tell if you really pay attention to it, but most people can't tell. So practice it. You could probably tell the first few times I did it, but practice that, and that's totally an okay skill to build. Something that's really nice is that, like with Canva slides or whatever, you can put your slides on one screen and share that, and then have your little presenter notes, put them right below your camera, so you can be reading your notes, but it looks like you're looking at the camera instead. Like, there's all kinds of things we can do to get crafty and get you the practice you need with doing some stuff live, so that eventually you do feel comfortable hosting these networking sessions and Q&As, and maybe adding some more live elements to your programs that you can then include in your summits and all that good stuff. So I do feel like it really levels up events to have some kind of like high quality live stuff going on.
Yeah. And
by high quality, I don't mean like the expensive tech and platforms or whatever. Use Zoom, use the mic on your webcam, as Sarah had to do today. Like, do what you gotta do, but like meaningful, I guess, is what I meant by high quality.
And to that point, so my mic failed for some reason when we were going to record this. So I'm using my webcam mic. I had to do that in front of Krista. Krista didn't care. Just remember, when something goes wrong with your tech at a live event, nobody really cares that much. Like, it'll be fine. It happens to the best of us. Like, sometimes, your slides might lag or whatever the case may be. I release you from worrying that people are staring at you and thinking like, oh my God, this is so unprofessional.
Oh my gosh, I have to share what happened at my summit back in February. Y'all, this was like my 12th summit. I've been around the block. I've done hundreds and hundreds of live trainings. Sarah was there, so she saw this happen. But I had a sponsor on to lead a session, and his Zoom kept crashing. And it wasn't like once or twice that this happened. It was at least 5 times where he's presenting and he's just gone. And it was fine. Now, I think if it would have been one of my first couple of times, I'd be like, oh my gosh, ended up crying, whatever. But I was like, all right, that was a really great point he just made. And we started talking about it and we built community. We made it fun, So it's totally okay when stuff doesn't work. Everyone was like, that was actually really awesome. I love how you handled that, So yeah, it's totally fine when stuff doesn't work. Happens to everyone.
It makes you human. Like
Yeah.
I think you probably saw better conversion rates out of that summit in some ways because people were like, "Oh my God, Krista is like a real person. She's not like the untouchable summit host." Because it could feel like the summit host is like the celebrity of the
Mhm.
summit, and it makes you a real person. Like I bought from Krista as a Summit in a Box student because I knew she was a real human. And I knew that like I could send her fun Slack messages. Like I do this all the time now. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, guess what happened?" And I send her like fun stuff about my summits and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that."
Love it.
And it's great, like we want to know that people are real humans. And so yeah, when you make this or when stuff goes wrong, like it goes wrong and that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love it so much. So much. Oh my gosh. We talked about so many things. And it's also good. And I hope everyone listening agrees. So let's wrap it all up. I feel like we already talked about where to start, all of that good stuff. So I think we should just get into like what resources you have for people who are still like, I need more help. So we've got a couple awesome free things for people who want to experience an actual good networking event and for people who want help with the feel good networking. So will you tell us about the things and I will link to the things in the show
Yes.
notes.
So first we have one of my courses, which is Feel Good Networking That Works. And this is from the standpoint of attending something as a networker. So, not hosting, although it's applicable. I mean, it's applicable to anything. And of course, I will not get my soapbox out, but every event you attend with other humans is a networking opportunity. So, don't forget that. Like this podcast with Krista, that's a networking opportunity. We have built an even better relationship than we already had, I would imagine.
She's like,
So,
isn't that true?
like, I hope.
Do you like me more? Or do you hate me now?
I could never hate you. It'd be impossible. And so it helps you really kind of like focus on your goals and then go in and help guide the networking conversation so that it feels good for everyone involved and it gets you out of those like stodgy style of networking events.
Mhm.
So that'll be really helpful for you to really like break down some of the anxiety provoking experiences that you potentially have had in the past or just avoided because you hate the word networking. So you don't have to experience those again. And then we also have a networking social ticket. So we host networking socials every month, at least one every month. We're doing like two in March because because we're going to host one for the public and attendees and speakers for collaborations that monetize,
Ooh, cute.
and then host one inside collaborations that monetize so I can prime people to show up live and to not be afraid of showing up live and networking. So we host them monthly. They are just an hour. They're approachable, welcoming. Krista, of course, has already been speaking to that as
Mhm.
someone who has attended and has brought me in to host things. So if you're not convinced, I once again encourage you to try. But if it's the right fit, like you can get a free ticket, and we would love to have you. I'd love to invite you to meet all of my other friends.
I love it. We will link to both of those things in the show notes. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being here. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. For show notes and resources mentioned in this episode, like I said, head to the link in the episode description wherever you're listening, and we'll have everything you need there. And now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your high converting virtual summit.